Okay, hey guys, Rhonda with RK3 Designs, and as promised, I'm gonna give you the recipe on the round tables that I've been working on for a winery here in the Hill Country near my house. So we're starting off. I'll have some of the photos posted later on in the video, but here's how we got started. Our tables are 42 inches diameter. They have an 1.5 inch drop on the edge, so we have a really pretty edge, nice edge to work with. Everything's routed over so that the epoxy would really flow. I think we used 1/4 inch on the top and an 1/8 inch round over on the bottom so that the drips would come up underneath the table. And we painted the base coat with Behr primer, paint and primer in Ethiopia. And 2 coats, sanded in between coats just to kind of get a little smoother, and let that sit overnight. And then we came back and I fogged the table with Rust-Oleum spray paints in nutmeg, cinnamon, warm caramel, seaside, lagoon, leather brown, espresso, Kona, and then we'll use, I didn't fog with black, but I'm going to use black in the process when I do some techniques on top. So I fogged the table, making sure I got color on my sides. So the lagoon really does show through on the sides. It looks beautiful when you start mixing all your colors. But as far as colorants, that is the only thing that I've colored these tables with, is the spray paints. We started off with clear epoxy and put just a tint, just a touch of the diamond dust in there, just to kind of give it a shimmer, and you only see it ever so often, and when the light hits it just right. And then we're going to do some effects on top of the paint with just plain alcohol, 91% plain alcohol, no mic is added to it. And then I have alcohol with gold, and this isn't a spray bottle that gives me the big large spray. We're using copper metallic and coffee metallic, and that can be as your preference. I mean, you can use, you know, any of the earth tones to get the look that I'm getting. I do like the gold though, and I'm not sure if the pictures show it, but the gold really looks pretty when the light hits it just right. So these are basically all I'm going to use to achieve the look I'm gonna get. I will torch it and I will use the heat gun. So let's get started. I've already mixed up some epoxy, and it's sitting in a bucket here, ready to be put on the table. And like I said, I've got just a tad bit of the diamond dust in there. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick up that or not, but it's just a little bit. Mix all this in, make sure it's all mixed up good. All right, get all your little boogers out of there. I'm gonna mix it up. Okay, I'm gonna clear my table a little bit so when I push my product over the edge, I don't get it all on my paint. And I'm troweling it out with a 1/8 by 1/8 square trowel. And the product I am using today, which is the product I'll be using exclusively as far as my epoxy goes, is Stone Coat Countertop. I love their product. I've used other epoxies in the past, and this one, yeah, I'm just sold on it. So once I get it on my table, I'm going to take it and I'm going to push it over my edge. And I do want quite a bit of product on the edge because of the effects that I'm going to be doing. Really makes for some pretty edges. Trying to get as even as I can around. And you do want to make sure before you start that your surface is level, because epoxy is self-leveling, so it will roll to whichever way your table's leaning if it's not level, and then you'll lose your design, or you'll change your design quite a bit the next morning when you come out and you see that the design that was in the middle of your table is now in the middle of your floor. All right, so got that. And I do not wash my tools. I set them like this, let it dry overnight, and then it gives me a clean edge to work with. All right, so I'm gonna get my brush, and I have pre-primed my brush. And I'm just gonna chop out all the trowel marks. I know you can't see this on camera, but the trowel does leave little track marks on here. And I'm gonna be trialing and using the brush, not trialing, but using the brush a lot in this process. So if I don't get all of the tracks out while I'm chopping now, it'll definitely come out with the rest of the process. And I wanna really make sure I pay close attention to my edges. You can even pick up some of that product that's dripped off. Paint it on your edges. I really do like to have quite a bit of product on my edge. When you chop, you want to really chop randomly so you don't actually lay down a pattern of your chopping. Like, you don't want to go back and forth like lines. You want to really be random. Okay, so my edges look good. I try not to torch my edges a lot when I do use the torch or the heat gun, because it is a vertical surface. My epoxy is going to have a tendency to run a lot. So I try not to really hit my edges with a lot of heat. All right, so I'm going to torch it. Get these bubbles out. And I do make sure that I kind of pay attention to my edges, and if there are big bubbles, I may hit it just real quick with the torch. I tend to stay away from those edges. Okay, and at this point is where you want to kind of look and see if you have any little foreign critters in your top. Okay, everything looks good. Okay, like I said, the only thing that I'm going to use, I just got epoxy on my face, are going to be my spray paints. And that's where your your artistic ability kind of comes out of where you're going to place all this. And I know that my customer really wanted the earth tones, but then she wanted the turquoise to really kind of pop. So, and that in mind, I'm gonna start off by basically covering my whole surface and giving it a tint. But because it's a satin spray paint, it's gonna tint the epoxy, but it's gonna tint it with a transparent. It's not gonna be quite as opaque as if I added colorant to the epoxy before I started. So I usually do wear a mask, a respirator, but so that I can talk you through this one, I'm not going to this time. So I literally just spray this on there. Now when I'm spraying it, I'm getting 100% coverage. So if I look down, I really can't see through my color at this point. So I do want to get 100% coverage, cover those edges. You may not want to show your customers this because it has a tendency to freak them out a little bit. All right, so I have 100% coverage now. I'm going to take my brush and I'm literally going to paint and chop. Paint and chop. And I do different techniques on different areas. Just gives you kind of a different look. Still want to hit those edges to bring a texture in. And you'll see, just at this early stage in the game, you'll see the paint starting to react with the epoxy. I'm already seeing some cells forming. And then I just kind of skip my brush across the surface, and you're just kind of getting some pattern is really all you're trying to do at this point, is just get some pattern down. All right, I am going to put my brush back in my bucket because I'm going to use that a little bit later. So now you're just going to start grabbing some colors and fogging. I'm going to grab khaki. And at this point, I'm just randomly placing colors. Hit your edges. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason to this. That was khaki. This is warm caramel. Oh, don't tell me it's not gonna work. Oh no, is there another one on there? And this is what happens sometimes. Okay, so now we're gonna go to cinnamon. And then I'm gonna come back and change tops on that. So the warm caramel is the one that kapooted on me. So now I'm coming back with cinnamon. Now cinnamon is a bright color. And I know when you first see it go on here, you're like, oh gosh, that is really ugly. But let me tell you something, when it mixes next to and complements that turquoise, it is absolutely stunning. You want to try this top? Oh, you got one? Okay. So that's about all I put of the, oh, we got it working? All right, so now I'm coming back with, oh, that's black. I'm glad I looked. I'm coming with espresso. Now here's when I start kind of thinking how I want my piece to look. I kind of think where I'm going to be putting my turquoise and strategically kind of placing my darker colors. And I'm almost kind of engulfing some of the lighter colors. And hit my edges. That was, that color was espresso. Now I'm coming with Kona brown. Kona has a tendency to give almost like a reddish kind of color. So I'm real careful with it. And I usually kind of outline some of my other colors with that. I don't get crazy with the Kona because it can really take charge pretty quick. Now comes the magic. I take Lagoon and my arms aren't long enough. Seaside, glossy Seaside. And this is when I start really paying attention where I put my, and you'll see that I'm laying down my Lagoon and I'm coming back on top and kind of outlining my my Lagoon with the light color Seaside. So that looks good to me as far as where I want the top, but I'm gonna hit my sides a little bit with the color because you'll see here in just a little bit how you start getting some runoff and your edges end up looking just incredible. Okay, so as far as the colors on the top, I think I'm happy with that. I may put a little more khaki right there, kind of outline that blue. Okay, so now you're just gonna take your brush and just kind of paint it all in. And I kind of do my browns at first. And I'm not mixing them, I'm just dragging them enough to where they sort of meld a little bit. Give me a popsicle stick, please. Okay, so you can see I'm just kind of taking my earth tones and my edges and I'm just kind of hitting it a little bit. And I have plenty of work time with this epoxy. It's about, 72, I guess, here today. And I don't even have my AC on in my shop. It's just nice in here. So I'm going to have quite a bit of work time. So now you see I've just kind of used that brush to kind of meld my colors. And you want to maybe just take that and just come down real close with. And now I'm going to take a popsicle stick, and instead of using my paintbrush to meld all those colors together, I'm just going to take it and kind of slice through it a little bit. Do my edges. And just kind of work that turquoise. And I have turquoise on my brush, so every so often I'll kind of bring it out. So I'm just kind of giving it almost like a fracture look. You can see how those edges are already kind of looking kind of cool. Now because it's round, I kind of play to that round curve when I do my, I don't know what this technique would be called, I guess, when I do my scratching, hand scratching. All right, so now I've kind of got these colors starting to work a little bit together. And now is when I want to kind of bring in some highlights, and that's when I bring in my white. And again, white is really a color that you can overdo it. I think I'm going to bring in this color. This side over here is looking a little plain. So I think I'm going to bring in a little bit more browns here. Maybe my I really like when that cinnamon is, did this not work? Well, darn. My warm caramel is not working, and that is not good because that's one of my main colors. Try something else. Maybe I can get a little bit out of it. Oh, I got a little bit out of it. Okay, so this is the warm caramel. So this I'm gonna kind of come back over in random spots. And then come back with my brush. And like I said, this is all just where your artistic preferences come in. To see where you want to lay your colors down. Yeah, I like that a little better. Okay. Now I'll come in with my white somewhere. And this is where I want to just kind of play with it a little bit. Don't be too crazy with your white. I'm kind of almost following lines that I see that are kind of naturally starting to form. Kind of following them around. I like to get white on my edges. Add a booger right there. White can really get muddled up very quickly. Look at these colors already, how they're separating. Love it. I'm just gonna kind of play to that pattern a little bit. Here's a little bit of turquoise. I love, look at that corner right there, how it's already. I'm just gonna add a little bit of white to that. Let that run down. not happy with that right side of the table, or left side, I guess. I think I need a little more interest over here. So I'm gonna come in with a little more turquoise. All right, now my world is happy. Okay, and then I'll just and then kind of have a little bit of that turquoise on my stick and kind of just bring it in a little bit, working on my edges. Bring a little bit of browns in there, a little turquoise over here. Okay, so now I'm liking the placement of everything. Starting to move a little bit so you can get an idea of how your whites are gonna look. I really like this spot right here. I wish I could freeze frame it. All right. Okay, now at this point, you'll have to solicit some help if you've got a big piece you're working on. And then what we'll do is, as we tilt it, I'll also heat it. I wish y'all could see these colors. This just looks amazing how they're starting to. This piece right here looks like a chunk of turquoise, like a stone, a piece of natural stone to me. And I'm a turquoise buff. Any of those who know me know that's kind of my signature go-to color. I need to add a little bit of white over here before we tilt. And I like to add my white after my turquoise has set a little bit, because it kind of tells me where the pattern kind of dictates to me where I want to put my white. Okay, I really like that. Okay, so I'm gonna get Kelly, my #1 helper here, to lean the table towards the camera. And I'm going to heat different areas of the epoxy so it moves at different rates. Careful not to get her. You really want it to move a lot, you can take that torch and hit it and really get those pieces to start moving. You can see how that turquoise is really starting to move. Like I said, I try not to hit my edges too much. Okay, then she's going to come to this side and we're going to torch it this way. And if you notice, as you start moving, you let some of those colors drift off the side. I need to go
under there, it's on your section.
Actually, I'm going to tilt it that way a little bit. Okay. We had to adjust the base of it. Okay. All right. All right, so at this point, you kind of sit back and decide if this is the basic direction that you want your table to go. Oh my gosh, look at the edges on here. Look amazing. If you see big blobs like that, sometimes you can hit it just a little bit and get it to go on and flow down. All right. So now what I do at this point is I let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes, depending on your temperature. And this table seems to be setting up just a hair faster than most of the time because I let it sit in the bucket a little bit while I was preparing and getting ready for the video. But I don't want this pattern to move a lot. If I start adding a lot of alcohol at this point, my pattern's gonna move. So I wanna let it set 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back for the alcohol textures and stuff all on the front, the top, which is really gonna give you some amazing effects. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. I've let my epoxy set just a little bit and get to watch all the fun little things that are happening, colors fighting with each other and stuff. So now I'm going to come back with plain alcohol. I want to kind of fracture, but I don't want to fracture with a color on top. That I'll do in just a minute, because you can really overpower trying to get cells. You can overpower by mixing it with the mica powders when all you're trying to achieve at this point is separation and texture. So I'm going to hit it just straight with 91% isopropyl alcohol. All right. Now when this isopropyl hits the white, it absolutely is stunning. It causes a reaction almost like a lacing effect. All right, then what we can do is come back now with our colors. So now I'm going to come back with some copper, and I'm just randomly spraying it. And I'm not squeezing my bottle like all the way. I'm just barely hitting it so that it gives me bigger drops. Now I'm coming back with the coffee. And I'm not putting a lot of the browns on top of my turquoise because I don't really want to muddle that beautiful color. So I'm not putting a lot of that brown. Kind of letting the browns stay with the browns. And I'll hit a little bit of my edges, but not a lot, because alcohol has a tendency to leave some I guess what you would call divots. It'll go down into your epoxy and leave a void. But this table, I actually want it to do that because I've mixed some diamond dust in there, and it's the coolest thing because all the voids, you could see the diamond dust. And so every void that's on this table, even if it goes down to the actual underneath surface, it's got diamond dust on it. So that really does look cool. So now I'm going to come back in and strategically place my gold. And I want it to be kind of big drops. And make sure you always shake it or you'll get a weak look. Oh yeah. Now this, I have a tendency to go a little more on my turquoise because that gold on top of that turquoise is so pretty. I'm gonna get some big drops on there. Y'all gotta stick the tongue out when y'all do it. It kind of helps. All right, so let that sit a little bit. What you think, Kelly? You like that?
Looks great. You can see the diamond dust coming through.
Coming through. Now, she wants a little bit of the granite look. Not a whole lot, because I don't want to darken this table up. And this is where I have to really be careful. Find you a spot that maybe is not your favorite spot, that doesn't have a lot going on. Like right here, I don't seem to have a whole lot of pattern. So I'm going to fog that, and I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it both with some copper and with some plain. And this edge over here is not gorgeous, so this will be a perfect place. Make sure you're using black. Don't accidentally grab another color. Black seems to be the best one to fog with. And I'm just going to kind of come over here and randomly put down a color, and then immediately I'm going to hit it with some alcohol. And what that's doing, it's opening up, it's giving me a granite effect, but it's opening up the colors up underneath it. And here's another little edge that I'm not real super fond of. So I'm going to come in here with a little bit of black and then immediately hit it. Now this one I just hit with pure alcohol first. And I don't like that spot right there. So I'm going to come back and hit it with some copper. And then you can see how these are getting big spots. And I don't want big spots, so I'm going to come back and hit them with a little bit more alcohol to break those big areas up. Put some right here. It looks like I'm spraying a lot, but I'm really not. I'm just barely kind of hitting that. Now, I've just got some little areas of, you can come back and re-get you some spots if you need to. If you're not liking the way it's looking. All right. Woo, I liking that. Coming back with a little bit of copper, adding some little color. Woo, this looks pretty. All right. And no matter how many times you do this, every time you do it, you're like, ooh, ah. Or I am anyway. Okay. So I want to kind of look at my other tables and see if my patterns are sort of similar. What do you think? Think we need some more black, or you think we're good on our black?
It looks good.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Now, I've got a little bit of clear epoxy left over. Do this at your own risk. You can use a heat gun too. Just kind of heat it up a little bit, especially if it's been sitting in your bucket a little while. Because what you want to be able to do is for that to be flowing. Because I'm going to put some natural fault cracks, I guess you would call it, that you see in natural stone. And I just want to randomly put them here. And when you start, you want to start off your table. And if you get big blobs, that's okay, because I promise you in the morning when you come back, it's all gonna look different. Anyway. Be careful doing that with rubber gloves on too. Just saying. And like I said, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just putting them on there. And what this does, since it's epoxy laying down, it'll kind of open up. And you can see I'm kind of twisting my brush, so sometimes I get 2 drips, sometimes I just get 1 drip. Kind of go along your edge. You can even kind of put some on your edge a little bit. Let it, ooh, that looks cool. And this is when you have to tell yourself, when do you stop? I do have a problem knowing when to stop. Ooh, that was pretty. Now, you can also, if there's any spots that you don't like, you can come in and put a little bit of that color in. I'm going to kind of move it a little bit. Some of these areas maybe where my granite didn't react quite the way I wanted it to react. I can get a whole different look by coming in here and moving it around with the heat gun. Some of these spots I want to kind of get to. And you can open up some of these colors, getting them kind of, how the black's kind of coming back over the top of the turquoise to kind of blend them a little bit. So you can move your epoxy a little bit, and then what I did is I just went back and hit it with a little bit of alcohol. and get it to add a little bit more fracture into it. Now you wouldn't want to heat this with a torch and then spray your alcohol on there. Not that quickly anyway. Okay, well I think we're gonna just let it sit for a little bit and see how it starts to move, see if we need to add anything to it. I have a couple of spots here that look, I guess my black paint maybe dripped when I sprayed it. It looked man-made. I didn't want any of that, so I just touched it with my finger. So now it's just kind of a waiting game and see how it turns out. All right, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.